Alright, good evening guys, welcome back to another live stream. We are back again working on this massive Hive City slash Ash Wastes. God, I'm not making the mistakes already, am I? Hive City slash Ash Wastes gaming board. So yeah, I have been just at it today on this. I have spent like 5 hours, I reckon, on this board just trying to get it ready so we could start dry brushing it basically. So as you can see, I have done basically all of the base coats for it. I've also sort of undercoated our ground level, and I've come in with some shades, and I've kind of mixed it up. I've used some greens as well just to make it kind of ugly and murky. And yeah, basically now we're going to come in and dry brush it all so it kind of pops. But yes, how are we doing, guys? Joe, long live the sprue god. Long live the sprue god. I agree with that, Joe. Big Brain, hello world, chat mode. Chat mode is already dealt with today. I have actually done it for once, so... But thank you for the reminder anyway, Big Brain. Luke Thompson, evening lads. Good evening, Luke. Thank you for joining us. Big Brain late. I was like a minute late, Big Brain. I had to just finish setting up. I had to get myself a drink. Luke Thompson, Uncle Nihilus, good evening. How are you doing, Luke? How are you doing? Big Brain, it looks better than last stream. Thank you, Big Brain. I have been like full on going at this today. Because obviously we got 2 more sections to do once this is done. But I figured we would just get the ball rolling. Things kind of worked out today. So I ended up having a bit more time to spend on the project. And yeah, I've just gone for it. So I'm glad you can see the change. But what we're going to do today, guys, is I have got my massive XL dry brush, my Artis Opus dry brush, which I'm going to use to give this a couple of coats of Morghast bone, I believe. I think that's what we're going to start off with. Obviously it's a bony colour, but it's kind of a darker bony colour. And we're going to use that for the first pass with the dry brush, and then we're going to do a lighter colour, which is... Oops. Knocking stuff off the table. Is it Screaming Skull? Might end up doing 3 in certain places where it, you know, where there's a bit more highlighting. But there's a Shabty Bone, and then probably Screaming Skull on the really high points, basically. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Big Brain, a minute late is still late. It is, Big Brain. I agree with you. A minute late is still late. I'm not arguing that I wasn't late. Okay, let's do some dry brushing. I have organised stuff this evening, and I don't think I've actually forgotten anything, so this should be relatively painless when it comes to just getting stuck in. Also got my pad. Okay, so let's go for it. What I might need to do actually, guys, is I'm starting in this far corner here. And as I make a bit of progress, I'll probably spin it around just so you guys can see kind of where it's been highlighted. You'll also probably be able to see, I think just about on the camera, that some of the areas are like a darker colour and a grey colour. That is where we've got areas of rocks and slate and stuff like that. And what we're going to do with those is we'll probably go over them with lighter greys. I don't necessarily know whether we'll get around to doing that on today's stream, but we'll see how we do. As long as we can get kind of at least 1 layer, I think, on the board, that will be an achievement. So that's what we're going to go for. Anything else is extra. Quokka, holy she, is that part of the throne? It's not, Quokka. Today we are working on the Hive City slash Ash Wastes project. So we have to get this done. We've got a bit more of a time frame for this one, as I may have mentioned before. And yeah, just kind of full speed ahead with this. But I tell you what, I am really, really enjoying it. There's a bit more freedom when it comes to, you know, painting like gnarly battlefields, because you're not, you know, you're not working to strict guidelines when it comes to the throne room. There's not too many edges, so yeah, I can be a bit free with my working on this. Big Brain, Morghast Bone is my secondary colour for my Eldar. It's a damn good colour, Big Brain. I really dig it. I do. And hopefully it's going to look great with our Ash Wastes. Obviously as well, we are going to use like pigment powders and stuff, so we're going to get it looking pretty nasty and gnarly. I've been looking at some of the official art pieces for Necromunda. One that stuck out to me, obviously the problem with some of the Warhammer community stuff is they don't credit the artist who makes the work. But basically one of the pieces, or two of the pieces that I've seen, the ash wastes kind of have like a greenish hue to them. So I thought I'd try and incorporate that and use Chthonian camo shade, I think it was. I've done a few patches around the table with that, just to make it, you know, to kind of add to the various colours, basically. So, yeah. Gargaloth, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Gargaloth. Good evening, Joe. How are we all doing this evening? Let's get some stuff done. I think today is probably going to be the most time in one day I've spent, like, on this project. Because we're already 5 hours deep. I prepared everything for today's stream. I wanted to get us to a place where we were kind of ready to make a next big step. And obviously when we dry brush this, because the colours are quite flat now, once it's dry brushed it's really going to pop. So hopefully you guys will be able to see that. And if not, obviously, as always, I will add some pictures to our Discord after. So if you're new here and you haven't joined one of our lives before, we have Discord with a link in the description. So if you fancy joining, we just all kind of share what we're working on. I put pictures of the projects I'm working on, and it's one big happy community. So feel free to join us over there. Alright, let's get some of this on the palette. Big Brain, we need green toxic stuff. We do, Big Brain, and I figure that's where this kind of green colour comes in. It just kind of adds a bit of variety, because obviously when you look online and you see people's interpretations of the ash waste, there's lots of different interpretations. And I just wanted to take a leaf out of the, you know, the official artist's book and kind of give it a little bit of a green hue. I'm not, you know, we're not guaranteed it'll work, but I think so far it looks pretty good. But time will tell once we put this sort of dry brushed layer on, I guess. So we're going to start out nice and gingerly. Obviously at the moment you won't be able to perfectly see what I'm doing, but I will spin it around later on in the stream and show you guys how it's getting on. But I am being careful not to go too heavy with this first dry brush, just because you can, it sounds like a lot of people have said this before, but you can always add, you can't take away. So the thing is, if my first pass with the dry brush is really, really light, obviously I can just come in with a bit more paint loaded up on the dry brush and add to it. But if I end up leaving a bunch of brush lines on it, that is going to be harder to deal with. So we've put not that much on the dry brush at all. And so far it's looking alright. Gargaloth, might have missed it, but what figures are going with here later? Epic battle scene. No, Gargaloth. So this project that we're working on here is a gaming board for Hobby House here in the UK. They're based down in Southampton, and we are collaborating on a gaming table. So this build, stuttering there, this section specifically is one of 3 that will make up a table, and you'll be able to come and play on it, basically. But in terms of quality, we are aiming for between a diorama and a gaming board, so I want it to be, you know, really high quality, lots of details and everything, but without all the miniatures stuck to it. Alex, so we are here again, my friend. You are still a maniac and I love it. Thank you very much, Alex. I'm glad you're enjoying this one. I know this is a little bit of a detour from our Golden Throne build, but truth be told, it's a welcome one because it gives me a chance to do something a little bit different. And much like I've said before, it gives me a chance to think about the throne and think about ideas and what to pursue next when it comes to the throne room. So yeah, it's a welcome project, and I'm really, really enjoying it. Gloom Creature, hello, Gloom Creature. God, I always I always mess that name up. I think I've done that in one other stream. Oh, over-egged it a little bit on that section. See, this is what I mean. If you get a little bit too much on the brush, it can be a bit of a pain in the ass to get off. But it's not too noticeable. Gargaloth, I see. Awesome work. Thank you, Gargaloth. We're going to try and make a good bit of progress on this evening. I've been documenting my progress on this throughout the day as well, so I've been sort of recording behind the scenes, I guess, because once it's done, or once we got a sizable portion of it done, I will be making it into a video for you guys to watch. Might not appeal to you guys who tune into these live streams because you're seeing it being built bit by bit, but for those who don't watch the live streams, it might be up their street, so we will wait and see. It's nice to be finally putting some colour on this now. It feels like a lot has changed in the last 48 hours with this build. The colours worked out really well today as well. It was a little bit hot, so I had to do it all in the morning. I had to blitz through it straight away. Just because the temperature at the moment here in the UK is still pretty unforgiving. Not impossible to work with, but it's a little bit unforgiving. I think we're about 26 degrees here today. Gargaloth, are there a way for miniatures to get up on the broken bridge? Not yet, Gargaloth. We did discuss this last stream. There's going to be some ladders and some scaffolding and bits and bobs that are going to be added after I've sort of painted this bit up. Because I think it's going to be easier to add more detailed pieces, you know, paint them up individually, then kind of blend them in. So that's what we're going to do. But there will be a way to get onto the causeway and the bridge. J1T3, I'd love you to dry brush my board. Well, let's see how this goes, J1. Because this is the first time I've done this in quite a long time, actually, dry brushing. Or dry brushing like a board like this. Obviously I've done it with miniatures and stuff. But we'll see how it turns out. You might change your mind by the end of this. Alex, the groundwork is coming on really good. Thank you, Alex. I think the airbrush, as it usually does, has done a lot of the heavy lifting with applying the colours and the tones and everything. I did use the rattle can for the base colours like Xandri Dust and then the grey for the bridge. And then on top of that I've come back in with the airbrush. But it's worked out really well actually. So I'm quite happy with it. I've just got to make sure that this dry brushing comes out right. It's alright. It's alright. And obviously we can use our pigment powders. If there's any huge sins, we can use pigment powder to kind of cover them up. So, you know, nothing at the moment is really make or break. Gargaloth, besides jetpacks, that is. Well, yeah, if you've got a jetpack unit, you haven't got to worry about it, have you? You can get up there at your own will. But no, we are going to have we're going to have a couple of things. We're also going to have some kind of makeshift walkways that are going to come across these gaps as well. And I'm going to make them in a style that's sort of reflective of the ash waste. So it's going to be built up of scrap pieces of metal. You know, there's going to be cargo doors, pieces of tank, old sheet metal, that kind of thing. So it's going to be in keeping with our board's theme. Alex, I like the way it comes up to the pillars. Yeah, so it's kind of one of the, I don't want to say completely unintended effects, but obviously when you're using spray cans and stuff, you get a bit of overspray. And funny enough, back in the day, I always used to think that equals a mistake, but it doesn't, because it kind of helps blend everything in. You imagine that the supports for this bridge are going to get blasted with sand and dust and ash and all sorts of stuff. So the effect kind of helps out and leans into the sort of overall aesthetic of the board, which is really good. Big Brain, I have some clowns with jump belts. You do? You have some harlequins. That's what they're called, isn't it? Harlequins? Okay. If anything, I'm wondering if my dry brush is a little bit too big, actually, for this job, just to get some of the sand and dirt that's tucked away in there, but we'll persist for a little bit, because I can always give it another pass anyway. But yeah, it's nice to see an area kind of pop out a lot, a bit more. It is, and we will give a lighter coat over this with a shabty bone. Just to pick out those really raised areas. And at some point I'll go over the stones as well. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the way it's looking already. I don't know whether I can get a better angle potentially. Let's try that. I know the focus on this camera isn't the best, but that's going to change very soon. Ginger Steve has kindly got a camera for the channel, so very soon you guys are going to see a jump in quality, and you'll get a better look at what I'm doing as I do it. So massive thank you to Steve, and yeah, it's going to be great being able to show you guys more sort of detailed look at what I'm doing, and obviously for sort of general videos as well, it's going to be much better. Okay, let's get a bit more paint off that brush. Gargaloth, it would be epic to have some toxic wastewater in resin in one of the craters. I think as cool as that is, Gargaloth, maybe some point down the line I'm actually going to do a project like that. But for this, I'm thinking like really just ashy and dusty and dry. I can't see any liquid being here, because I feel like any liquid would be harvested in some way. And maybe like refined to get some water out of it. And I think these ash wastes are just so inhospitable that I can't see that. So maybe in the sump you'll see something like that if we get around to a sump-esque project. But for now it's going to be very, very ashy and very, very dry. But yeah, it's already making a huge difference. I was a little bit worried to begin with, but now that a greater area is being dry brushed and popping a little bit more, it's looking much better. And I don't want to go too heavy anyway, because I don't want to completely negate the colours that are underneath, like the greens and the sepias and stuff like that. I just kind of want to enhance them by picking up what's on the surface, basically. So the bigger stones and bigger particles of sand. Gargaloth, looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you guys. I've started documenting it as well, documenting the build with some smaller videos. So I uploaded one to YouTube earlier. I also uploaded one to Instagram, and believe it or not, TikTok. I know, TikTok. don't usually use TikTok anymore because I find it a bit of a pain in the ass, but occasionally if I've made a video, I'll upload it. Just because there's a few people on there who follow the projects and stuff. Oh, I'm still kind of working out a view, but but hey, I will take some good pictures after, just so you guys can see the change. Big Brain, I saw the short. Thank you very much for watching it, Big Brain. I appreciate it. It pretty much covered most of what I've already done today. So, kind of the base coats and everything. I didn't document, on the short obviously, I didn't document the shades because I kind of done them in the afternoon / evening. But I have recorded them on my bigger camera, so I'll put them into a longer video once we are done. But it is getting there. I'm looking forward to working on the next piece, which is going to be sort of the nomads area where they live. So we're going to have a few habs and everything. We're going to have a fair bit of junk and scrap and things they pick out of the wastes. Thing is with this build, and well, a lot of other builds that I've seen actually, when they add details to the build, they tend to do it in a way that they... Oh, Alex, thank you very much for the super chat. Get that effing camera, you deserve a nice view of your build. Hugs from Denmark. Thank you very much, Alex, but it's sorted is what I was saying. It's sorted. Ginger Steve has kindly sorted it, and he's ordered the camera, and it's on its way to me. And we are going to up the game for the channel. We're going to get more detail involved, a better look at things, because the camera that I've been using is just a little bit too old now. But that's very kind of you, Alex. Thank you very much. Lost my place a little bit there. Okay, no, I remember what I was saying. So, the detail when it comes to this build, what I have decided to do is obviously we're going to have loads of other little bits going on, but what I'm going to do is tie them in. I'm going to paint them up because I want to make sure they're nice and detailed, and obviously I like to be able to hold it and do my shrimp pose. And then I'm going to tie them in. So especially when we look at the second piece that I'm going to build, which is the Ash Waste Nomad sort of living area, we're going to have lots of little gribblies and stuff going on there. And I will probably do the same as I've done here, where I build the base for it and then tie everything in after. Because when you've got like scrap on the floor and stuff, it's actually quite easy just to paint it up and then tie it in, because I can kind of mask it off with some tape or some putty that I've got, and then kind of, you know, glue and sand and everything to blend it in, a coat of Xandri dust, and then pretty much just do the same process that I've done here. And I find that a lot easier than sticking it all down and then leaning over the table. Some of you might be familiar with the fact that I said when I was working on the Golden Throne project, one of the things that I wish I hadn't done was gluing a lot of the stuff down. So all the well, I'm pointing at it and you guys can't really see it at the moment, but I glued a lot of the stuff down, and the issue is that if I want to add a lot of detail to it, it's going to be a pain in the ass to do. So with this build, I have decided to make life easier for myself, and I'm going to add it after. So yeah, and it should work out well. Touch wood, it should work out well. Gargaloth doing the Emperor's work for him. Thank you very much for that, Alex. That will definitely go towards the project for sure. Because one of the things that yeah, I already kind of touched on was thinking about things that I want to do when it comes to the Golden Throne project. A few of you know that obviously we're going to have stuff like the True Emperor. We're going to have this little room at the back. But when it comes to what we're going to work on next when we get back into it, I've had a little bit of time to think, and one of the things that I want to do next is kind of just like get the floor 100% done. and at the same time add some details to it. So I've got my hands on these candles from Green Stuff World, I think it is, and I'm going to paint them up and start sticking them to the floor of the throne room in certain places, just because I figured that, you know, this is the height of the Imperium's strength. It's the Emperor of Mankind. There's going to be lots of candles and sort of religious iconography and all that stuff. Even though the Emperor absolutely hates it, you know, since he's been interred on the Golden Throne, he can't really do much about it, and being venerated as a god, it's kind of out of his control at this point. So, you know, we're going to reflect that in the build. Lots of candles, lots of purity seals, and just make it kind of like church-esque, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's going to be the next step. Some lovely red candles. And of course, before we started working on this project here, we were painting up some pipes. So we've got a few pipes that are going to feature on the throne room floor. We'll get them finished, we'll get them weathered a little bit, make them look a little bit rusty and grimy. And then we can kind of like, you know, put a lid on the floor for the throne room. Because it's always been in this sort of place where one minute I've called it done, the next minute I'm thinking of something else for it, and that process has gone on a little bit too long. So when we're back at it, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start doing the candles. We'll finish off our kind of rough edge highlights, and then really sort of push it forward. Because the aim was originally to have it done by the end of this year. Now, I don't think that's going to be as likely anymore, but it doesn't mean we still can't give it a good push, basically. And Big Brain is completely correct. We are going to have a motorized gate down the line as well. We're going to sort that out for you, Big Brain. Don't you worry. Don't you worry one bit. The Big Brain Gate is what we call it now. But yeah, so that'll be happening as well. Lots of stuff ahead of us, basically. And hopefully, you know, a few more projects down the line as well. So we'll just have to wait and see. Alex, this is always nice stream to watch. Fun man and crazy modelling. Thank you, Alex. I'm glad. I am glad that you guys find these entertaining. Because I think when I started them out, I was a little bit worried that it'd be really, really boring. But I feel like it's sort of starting to find its feet a little bit doing these live streams, which is nice. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying them, basically. Obviously, still got to get a video out for the lovely subscribers who don't tune in. But the further we get with this, the closer we get to a video, basically, because I've been documenting everything. So once we make tangible progress, we can turn it into a video. Maybe even when this is dry brushed and we've done all our layers, maybe that'll be about time for a video roundup. Gargaloth, aye, cool. Big Brain Gate is going to be so fucking badass. It is. It really is. It was never initially the plan, but I kind of made a bet with Big Brain, and I didn't think Big Brain would kind of take it, and he did. And, you know, I like to think I'm a man of my word. Luke Thompson, when can we see the rest of the board? Well, Luke, I got to do it section by section at the moment, because I don't have as much room anymore, since the Golden Throne takes up most of the room in the studio. So the aim is to kind of do it bit by bit. So we will start with getting this section of the board to an acceptable level. It might not be 100% complete, but we'll get it to a level where it's mostly complete, and then we can start work on the second section. And I'm saving the biggest and best till last, which will be the walls of the Hive City, because that piece is probably going to require the biggest push and the most amount of effort. So we will save that one till last. Never bet with a madman. I know. I didn't realise Big Brain was mad till after the fact. I told him, I said, oh, if the channel ever reaches 100 subscribers, I'll do that for you, Big Brain. You know, just a throwaway comment. Didn't expect anything, you know, anything of it. And then Big Brain goes and gifts 100 subs. So, you know, the channel reached 100 subscribers, courtesy of Big Brain. You know, and again, since I'm a man of my word, I'm going to do it. Obviously, there's a bit of some logistics that need to go into it, but I will figure it out. I will figure it out. Luke Thompson, can you explain what the rest of the board will look like? I can, Luke. So bit by bit, the table will be somewhat modular, so you can move it around in different sort of configurations. But the main idea for the build will be this bridge leading up to the Hive wall, and then on this side you will have the Ash Waste Nomads encampment with all their habs. And basically, you know, each area is going to have lots of detail on it. There's going to be like loads of scrap pieces, shipping containers, all that sort of stuff. But the Hive City is going to be the most detailed part of the build. So expect to see lots of Zone Mortalis ruins, expect to see Imperial Sector ruins. There's going to be fortifications on the top of the wall that I'm going to build using pieces from the Bastion kit and the Aegis Defense Line kit, I think, the old one. Because obviously Toby from Hobby House has provided me with all the kits that I could possibly need to build this board, and some. So we're not going to run out of materials anytime soon. And you know, involved or included in those boxes were lots of older kits, so we can have a bit of a play with this and create something pretty damn cool. Big Brain, 100 members is easy. Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Is that a double dare? A double dare? It was easy for you, Big Brain. It was easy for you. You made light work of it. You did. You got your wish. It was cheaper than coming over and helping me, wasn't it? Okay, yeah, it is looking much better now. I think one thing I do have to do with dry brushing is make sure that you're not leaving brush strokes by just brushing in one direction. You want to kind of, let's say, make it unpredictable where you're brushing, just so when you look at the board from afar, you're not going to see where you've deliberately used your brush, if that makes sense. So that's kind of why I'm swirling it in circles at the moment. Just because then it's much harder to see where the dry brush has gone on. How tall will it be? Good question, Big Brain. So I haven't actually finalised how big it's going to be yet. But in my head, I think we're going to at least try for like four levels of the Imperial Sector kit. And then that will sit on top of the Zone Mortalis walls. I'm thinking of using them as like the base for the wall. And then using the Imperial Sector kits over the top of that. So we'll see how we get on. I'd say at least like 50% of the work I do is kind of intuitive builds. So I start out with a loose idea of what I want to achieve and what I want the build to look like. And then kind of work towards that. So some things change, you know, from the original plan. But it sticks to the overall plan, if that makes sense. Alex, I love the different scales of the model, but I'm also bonkers in my head. Keep things fun, have a smile, and redo your mistakes. Sometimes mistakes end up perfect. Couldn't have said that better myself, Alex. Not everything, we've definitely touched on this before, that when you are building or painting anything miniature related, it's not always going to come out 100% how you want it to every time. But you've just got to kind of, as Alex says, you've got to kind of embrace it, because otherwise you're just going to be picking out every little thing and you're not going to have any fun. And the whole point is you want to sit down for a few hours in the day or the evening, whenever you get time, just to do some hobbying and have fun. You don't want to make it like a chore. You don't want to end up hating it. Because that would suck. That would absolutely suck. And I know, like, sometimes we're prone to overanalyzing stuff, especially me. But the past, like, 2 or 3 years, I've been trying to push that aside and not be as much of a perfectionist. So basically, if I make a mistake, it's not a write-off. Luke Thompson, it's going to be the same size as the the Thrones Walls, Big Brain. Oh, I don't know about that, Luke. I don't know about that. It's going to be big, but I don't think we're going to have a meet at all. I think that might be a little bit too unwieldy. But they will, I think they will be adequate enough. We will make sure that they are big, imposing hive walls. Warhammer, will there be a city or just a wall? Well, kind of in between Warhammer is we are going to have like a little bit going on behind the wall, but not too much to be representative of the whole city. Because I feel like that as a project would probably be something on its own. And we need to make these playable boards. So it can't just be like another project that I have for ages and go ham and add like mental details. We've got to stick to a timeline. It's going to be the gates meets the the edge of the Hive City, that is, and the gates meets the ash wastes. And then, you know, when it's done, we'll see what other projects we can conjure up. Along with doing some work on the project behind us as well. Thanks, Joe. Project looks awesome. Thank you very much. We're getting there. Still have a tear looking at the board on the wall. Nice work. You're going to enjoy these 4K streams. Well, when it comes to the the Avarax build, I feel like that's off the table for a little bit. I'd love to get back to it. You know, I'd love to have a reason just to go at it again. But you know, we'll see what the future holds. Maybe it'll just end up being like a little snippet of Agarax. Agarax? No. Avarax. Let's get mixed up with Earthshade. Avarax Earthshade. No, Agarax Earthshade. Avarax the planet. Why do they have to give him such a similar name? It's crazy. I'll tell you what, since we're talking about Space Marine 2, has anyone played the update yet? I downloaded it the other day just because I wanted to see the new PvP maps. Because I love Space Marine 2. I think it's a brilliant game. But I feel like they never really had much going on with PvP in terms of the maps. I complained a little bit about this before. It's funny because I do love the game. I don't hate the game or anything like that. But I just wish there was a few more maps for PvP. So with these 2 new maps coming out, I'm looking forward to giving them a try and see how they play. Is there a new update to that game? There is, Big Brain. I think it's mostly cosmetic stuff, but there's 2 new maps for PvP. And I think there might be something PvE related as well. But don't hold me to that, because I only briefly looked earlier today. But I do like that game. I do enjoy playing Space Marine 2. I've done the campaign quite a few times, actually. I think I've done the campaign like 3 or 4 times. It's good fun. Right. Joe, still playing the first one from time to time. The first one is a good game as well. The only thing that tired me out from the first one was hearing the orcs say, kill that Space Marine over and over again, or kill them Space Marines. There's only so much of that I can take. I feel like there was limited dialogue for the enemies back then. Gloom Creature, still waiting for the Dark Heresy game to come out. Yeah, there's a few things in the pipeline, isn't there, for Warhammer at the moment. And there was an update about Astartes the other day too, so I think we're getting Astartes 2 in October, I think it was. So things are moving forward. Although God knows how many years it's been, like, that we've been talking about Astartes and another one coming out. It feels like it's taken way too long to get a second one out, but that's just my opinion on it. Yeah, it's looking nice having these subtle tones underneath too. So obviously the dry brush mutes them somewhat, but you can still see them underneath. So adds a bit of tonal variety. And then hopefully it'll look even better once we get some pigment on it too. Luke Thompson, what was the Astartes update? Can someone put a link in the Discord? I'm not sure we have Chris here this evening, unfortunately. Chris would probably be on that straight away. It was just something I briefly seen when I was looking through social media. I think I've seen it on Instagram. I haven't read the whole article for it, but what I glimpsed was that it was supposed to be October. And I imagine, truth be told, it's probably going to be a Warhammer Plus thing. So if you're not signed up for that, I mean, I'm not, but I imagine that it's going to be part of Warhammer Plus. Joe, I'm praying for DORF to drop. Look it up if you like retro RTS. I don't think I've played any retro RTS. I'm kind of a I want to say I'm a little bit boring when it comes to games, to be fair. I'm not much for strategy. I kind of just like shooty games. I feel like my brain doesn't want to learn, and you know, sometimes I just want to sit down and play something that's like point, shoot, that's it. Probably why I like Space Marine too, because I'm just cutting things up with a chainsword and shooting Tyranids, you know. Granted, I'd probably really enjoy it if I spent the time and got into them, but you know, that's another thing right there, is having the time to do it. A lot of my time is spent in here, in the studio, building ridiculously big projects. Tempted to get Warhammer Plus just to get the new Blade Guard model. The Blade Guard model does look really cool. I agree with you, Luke, it does look really cool. I think, though, you know, when they had the last Warhammer Plus model, which was the Inquisitor, I managed to pick that up on eBay for a pretty reasonable price. So, you'd probably be able to get it on eBay for someone who doesn't want it. But then, again, on another note, it is a Space Marine. So a Space Marine's probably going to be in a lot more demand than just a random Inquisitor. And anyway, isn't it like £50 a year? So it might even just be worth getting a year's subscription and then watching all the stuff that's on there, because there's probably quite a few things on there now. So you might get your money's worth. I know back when it first came out, I was kind of put off just because there didn't seem to be that much content to justify the price. But I feel like now, if I was going to get it, there would probably be enough to sort of justify the annual cost. You could binge watch a load of stuff. What do you get with Warhammer Plus? You get to watch all their programs, Big Brain, you get to watch all the shows they do, and you get a limited edition miniature. And this year it is a Space Marine kicking an orc's ass. An orc's ass. It's funny, I was talking to one of my mates the other day through Instagram, and he was saying, do you reckon that Games Workshop have kind of like got the pass on Space Marines killing orcs now? Because there's like 3 or 4 different models where a Space Marine is just kicking an orc's ass. So someone's been subtly sort of introducing it, and now it just goes unnoticed. Now it's just like standard procedure, an orc killed on the bottom of a Space Marine's base. Nothing to see here, this is just normal everyday Space Marine stuff. Apologies if I give you the silent treatment for a little bit when I have a moment of concentration. I just want to make sure I don't leave any brush marks at all on this. I want to blend it as seamlessly as I can. And going back to what Alex said earlier, if I do make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. But I want to try and just blend it as nicely as I can. But also not be too precious, you know. Because this board is probably going to see quite a few games of 40k, Heresy, Necromunda when it is delivered to Hobby House. I'm hoping that when it's done, I can be tagged in some pictures of people playing it, because I really want to see some miniatures on it when it's done. Do you know what? I went to get a little bit of paint today, and I forgot to get more gas bone, and that's the one I mainly need. And I forgot. I got everything else I needed, but didn't get this one, which is daft. Hey, well, it is what it is. I think I've got enough to do. I got enough to do a pass anyway, I think, so we should be alright. But it's just one of those things, you know, you get back home. It's only like it's not a long drive for me, it's like 20 minutes or something. But yeah, it's just sod's law, get home and I'm like, okay, I don't have the one paint that I really, or arguably need the most. Got a bit of a scatterbrain when it comes to remembering stuff. Joe was looking at that bridge some weeks ago. Would be nice to have some epic minis on it. You could, Joe. Looking at what you posted on the Discord the other day, the thing is, with this bridge, the scale would fit in quite well with epic as well, because you could have it this size and just sort of adjust any other scenery accordingly in terms of scale, and I think it would look really good. We still have lots to do with this bridge though. I've got to start making my walkways soon. I've got my hands on a bunch of plasticard to make the walkways to run across the bridge. For those of you who might have seen my post on Instagram a few weeks ago with my little sort of ash waste tester project that I done, I built a little walkway out of 2 spaces. And I stuck a bunch of bits and bobs on them. What did I stick on? Like Baneblade pieces and just some sheet metal looking stuff. And that's the kind of effect that I'm going to go for when I make these walkways across this bridge. Granted, I might beef them out a little bit and not make them as skinny, just so a few models can cross. But that's the sort of theme we're going to go for. Big Brain, there is no hobby store in Gjovik. Do you have to order all your stuff then, Big Brain? It's all through the post for you. It's better than no hobby at all. Your postie must love you if you order a bunch of stuff, Big Brain. Lugging it all to your house. Okay, I'm wondering what you guys can see. Oh, it's not much at the moment. Not much. No, I think it's going to be better if I just show you guys after the stream on the Discord. It'll give you a much better idea than me trying to show you through this current camera. But it's getting there. I can tell you that much, that it's getting there. I'm happy that I finally used the craters that I have. So I think they're a little bit harder to get hold of now, but I had these like they're cast in plastic, and Games Workshop done them back in the noughties, I think. And I've had them sat around in the studio for absolutely ages, and they've never been sort of doing anything. I've never used them on a project. So what I want to do is use most of them on this project, because obviously with the Ash Waste there's going to be like loads of craters and battle damage and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good excuse for me to use them and get them out of the studio, because otherwise they'll just be in here for another few years. Well, probably indefinitely. Got to stop looking at the stuff that I've accumulated and telling myself, oh, I'll do something with that at some point. It's like, just do something with it now. Get rid of it. Because you're not going to do something in the future. You're just going to wait and wait and wait. And it's just going to gather dust. So at least with this now, and this project, we can have people gaming on it. It can go to good use. It can bring people some enjoyment, you know? Big Brain, I just buy in Oslo when I'm getting my heart checked. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough, Big Brain. Yeah, it is really starting to come together. I know I've said that like 20 times already, but it is. And I feel like once we dry brush the even higher areas, it's going to look even better. I'm just going to have to decide as well what kind of pigments I want to use on it. We kind of want some complementary colours. So, you know, obviously some rust will go well with the sepia tones that we have underneath. But then we've kind of got our greens. But we don't really want to add to the green, I don't think. We want to keep the green quite subtle. So maybe some kind of white, ash-looking pigment powder, I reckon. Probably do the trick. What are you guys working on this evening then? Is anyone working on anything interesting? What are we painting up? Well, not painting, might be building something. So far with this project, I think this painting part has been the most enjoyable part of it. I do like assembling stuff. It's usually my most favourite part is assembling things. But I just really like the way that this is, the direction that this is heading. Now it's got some paint on it. And if you wonder why I'm leaning like this, I've got my wet palette to the side of me just to keep the paint a little bit more damp, so I can use it for longer. When it comes to dry brushing, you don't want to have too much water involved anyway, because it kind of messes up the whole process of dry brushing. But it does keep the paint a little bit more damp, so you can use it for longer, get more out of your paint. Didn't even know what a wet palette was when I got back into the hobby, and then realised, oh, my paint can actually last a lot longer. I used to just stick it on a porcelain plate and it would dry out very, very quickly. Gloom Creature, painting more Necromunda Noble House Outcast. That sounds cool. Gloom. You guys all know that Necromunda holds a special place in my heart. And technically, this build that we're going for here, in my mind, is Necromunda. This is one of the outskirts of Hive Primus. And obviously, Hive Primus being as massive as it is, you're going to have areas where it's, you know, it's not as well manned with your planetary defense forces. It's all kind of run down and a lot of gang presence. And that's kind of what we're going for with this build. Drawing on my PC, working on a project, says Big Brain. Nice, Big Brain. Anything Warhammer related, or just having a bit of a mess around? What kind of project are you working on? If you can share, that is. Quacker. Oh, that angle looks bad and weird. You're doing that under the table. Oh, don't say that, Quacker. You're going to get kicked off YouTube. It's all dry brushing. Look. It's all dry brushing. Nothing untoward here. Probably not the best angle though, you are correct. But hey, you guys haven't come to watch that. You guys have come to watch some terrain painting. And that's exactly what you're going to find here. Big Brain, never use a dry brush unless you want the texture. It's not Warhammer. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Dry brush, well, depending on how you use it, because obviously dry brushing as a technique has come on quite a lot now. And people, you can add a bit of water to it to keep the paint moist so it doesn't leave texture. Yeah, I find it to be really useful on like statues and stuff. That being said, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I replaced the eye gouges with, well, at the moment with nothing. But what I have got is a bunch of statues from the Imperial Sector terrain. And that's what's going to be on the top of each pillar. Because it's, well, one, it looks much better, and two, if you were to accidentally knock yourself with it, it's less likely to take your eye out. So, two good reasons to replace the pointy spikes that were on the tops of the bridge. Quacker, I love the brushing. Texture palette for the dry brushing is best, apparently. That's what I have here. That's what I have here, Quacker. It's very useful. It's very useful. I can't say I have completely mastered the technique of dry brushing yet, but I've definitely got better than when I started. Definitely. Statue eye stabbers, says Big Brain. The statues are going to be much easier to work with. The funny thing is, when I was painting this today, the amount of time that I was sort of crouching over and painting certain parts of this this build, I reckon I could have poked my eye out. If those caps were still there, I probably could have, or at least stabbed myself in the head. Luckily, got rid of them, and yeah, no problems now. And I feel like they're going to look much cooler, these statues, when they're painted up. I'm going to give them like a verdigris kind of effect. So I'm going to start out painting them, or undercoating them with a gold. And then what we'll do is go over it with a airbrush of Nuln Oil to darken it down. From there, add the verdigris and dry brush on top. And yeah, it'll look pretty good, I'm hoping. Joe, gotta go. Long live the grey names. Thank you for joining, Joe. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. But one day that name will turn green. I guarantee you. One day it's gonna happen. But thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon. I'll see you on the Discord. So we're gradually expanding our dry brush area here. The reason I'm kind of taking a bit more time with it is just to make sure that it's even, because when I started out here in front of me, I noticed that it wasn't really coming out too even, so I just want to make sure that everything gets a nice coat before I move on from it, basically. Just because we are trying to produce the best and most detailed table to date, with the exception of the throne, of course. Blood for the Blood God, I made it. Stream's not ending. Sweet. Hello, Blood for the Blood God. You have made it. You have made it in a timely fashion as well, because it's only 9 o'clock. So we still have at least an hour and a half of streaming ahead of us. So you came at the perfect time. What we're doing, Blood for the Blood God, just to catch you up, is we are doing some dry brushing. I spent about 5 hours today on this project. Giving everything a bit of a base coat and then coming in with some shades. And what I'm doing now is just giving everything a dry brush just to kind of make it pop. So we'll give it one pass with Morghast Bone, and then after that we're going to go over it again with a Shabti Bone, and finally Screaming Skull for some of the really raised points. So yeah, you know, we are on it today. Today has been exclusively Ash Waste Day. We'll obviously pass over our stones as well, because I will coat them with a lighter grey. I probably won't do that on stream. I'll probably do that tomorrow, I reckon. Just because I've got enough to do with this one pass, because we've only done like 20% of the board. It's still got to give everything one solid coat yet. Blood for the Blood God. Sounds like a sick plan. It's already coming along fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you guys can sort of watch the process of this build come together a bit more quickly. I am aware that when it comes to building the throne, it's a lot more of a demanding task, just because I try and pick out every detail. But with this I can work a little bit quicker. One, because it's not going to have the same absurd level of detail. Not to say it won't be detailed, but it just won't be ridiculously detailed. And number two is because we have a timescale for this build. So I've told the lovely chaps at Hobby House that I would crack this out in about 3 months. So we gotta get a move on. We gotta make sure it gets done to a high standard and make sure it gets done. Okay, let's start. Let's move further down a bit. Move this phone out of the way. And if it looks a little bit strange, it's because I have the dry palette in between the board and my legs sat on my lap, and that's where I'm wicking off my excess paint. But it's been pointed out that it does look a little bit funny. Big Brain, are the firestorms on Necromunda like on Armageddon? You know what, Big Brain? I am not entirely sure. I imagine there's a lot of unwelcome weather on Necromunda in terms of storms. I don't know whether they have full-on firestorms, but I think, actually, that being said, I think they have like, what's it, silica rain or something like that, where there's storms, and if you get caught in them, you just get torn to pieces because of all the crap and glass and, you know, rocks and sharp pieces of rubbish that are in the waste. So yeah, I think they have pretty unfavourable weather conditions since they've destroyed the planet in the past few thousand years. In fact, I think it wasn't it destroyed during the heresy? I feel like that's when things went awry. Forgive me if I've got that completely wrong, but I think that's what I remember hearing. Right. There we go. But yeah, this board is set on Necromunda. That is where I am imagining it. Armageddon is very cool. Armageddon's like flavour of the month at the moment. So I figured I'd go with Necromunda since it is one of my favourite locations in Warhammer 40,000. And aside from 40k itself, it's one of the areas of the Warhammer universe that just interests me the most. Because there's more of like a human element when it comes to Necromunda, you know, like all the gangs and stuff. Obviously you've got like super powered like Goliaths and stuff like that. But you've taken the sort of Space Marines and the Custodies out of it, so I feel like it's a bit more of a human element in a way. Blood for the Blood God. So is Necromunda a Hive City or a planet? The planet is Necromunda. The Hive City that we are basing this particular board on is Hive Primus. So that's the main hive on Necromunda. Obviously the hive being as big as it is, you know, it's going to be like miles and miles around it of hive wall. I imagine this is kind of like an area that's really, really run down. One of the many entrances and exits to the Hive City itself. So that's why things are particularly gross and grimy and ashy. And there's a lot of gang presence around here. I keep meaning to look into it, but getting distracted by pirates. What pirates are you getting distracted by, Blood for the Blood God? What pirates are distracting you? Is it Red Corsair pirates or Dark Eldar pirates? Both of which are a menace. A menace and a scourge, and they need to be wiped, just wiped out. There, I said it. If you came here for Xenos love, you have come to the wrong place. Big Brain, are hive worlds ecomonopolies? Oh wow. Ecumonopolies. Do you know what? I don't know, Big Brain. I don't know. I'd say you're starting to use vocabulary that's a little bit out of my my dictionary, to be fair. I've heard that word before, but I can't tell you what that means off the top of my head. Blood for the Blood God, Red Corsair. So yeah, I got it right. I was like, you know, 50%. It was one of them. It was either going to be Dark Eldar or Red Corsairs. They are very cool, Red Corsairs. I don't know much about their lore. I just think they look cool. Gloom Creature, Big Brain, I posted an extract on Necromunda's seasons in the Discord. That's interesting, actually. I'm going to have a look at that Gloom Creature when I'm back on the Discord. Now that Chris has sorted out our Discord, we've got lots of little categories for everything now, which is cool. I've just got to make sure that I go through and check everything from each category, so I don't miss anything. I feel like I'm fairly wet behind the ears when it comes to Discord, so I still got to kind of learn my way around it a bit more, a bit better. But I'm sure we will get there. Get there eventually. What else do we have here? I'll throw my progress on Huron and his crew in the Discord. Do that, Blood for the Blood God. Absolutely do that. I look forward to seeing it. I will have a little look after tonight's stream. So if any of you are working on anything, just stick a picture up. I'll take a look, and I'm always keen to see what you guys are working on. Because obviously you're sat there watching me do this. I don't know what you guys are doing. So I'd like to see it. I don't know if that's spelled correctly. I don't know, Big Brain. I know which word you are on about, though. I'm just not very good at pronouncing it, and I don't know what it means. So you'll have to find out and let me know, Big Brain. Ecumonopolis. Is it? Ecumonopolis is. Not sure. You've been alright with the spelling mistakes, Big Brain, today. I think that might only be one. It's a new record. One of the things here that I've got to be a little bit more careful with is the craters and stuff. They don't have as much sand on them, so I've got to be careful to not have too much paint on my brush when I'm dry brushing them, just because you will be able to see the brush strokes clear as day. And we definitely do not want that. We want everything to tie together quite nicely. Something I'm looking forward to on this build as well, when it comes to little details, is some posters, some like kind of old and haggard posters that would be blown out of the hive into the wastes. It's something that I added it on the Avarax build actually, although I've become a bit more proficient at making them look a bit rougher, basically. So we'll have something similar to that, but they won't look as pristine. It kind of works for that board because that's supposed to be inside Avarax, so you could kind of imagine anyway that the posters might be in a little bit of a better condition, but out here in the wastes things are going to be ripped, they're going to be discoloured, they're going to have been there for years, so we will try and reflect that with the way that they look out here in the wastes. And there won't be too many of them, because obviously they'd get turned to powder pretty quickly with the conditions outside of the hive. But I think they add a nice little level of detail, you know. I like them quite a lot. Big Brain, Ecumenopolis are world cities. Oh, I think Coruscant from Star Wars. Yeah, I want to say probably not though, Big Brain, because the hives, even though they take up most of, well, they don't even take up most of the planet on Necromunda, but they've got a few big ones that go right up into the atmosphere. Atmosphere? Stratosphere? Basically, they go up really high. But they don't encompass the whole planet. You know, there's vast swathes of ash wastes in between them, so I'm not sure that would count, to be fair. It's a good observation, though, and I'm pretty sure if anything was going to be described as a Ecumenopolis, it would be Terra, because Terra is just a city that covers the whole of Earth. So yeah, that would probably count, but not Necromunda. Okay, I am going to need, I'm going to need to wash this brush. I think what I'm going to do is use a smaller one for a little bit, actually. So, after a hydration break, Terra is an Ecumenopolis. It is, Big Brain, it is. It's, I'm not sure there's too many in 40k, actually. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone other than Terra that's an Ecumenopolis. But there probably is, to be fair, because there's, what, millions of planets in the Imperium, so there's got to be another one that's an Ecumenopolis somewhere, you know? Okay, let's just make sure I clean this off. Don't want it to get too gunked up. So what I'll do is I'm going to leave that soak for a little bit. I know you're not really supposed to let your brushes soak, but it's a dry brush, so it's not going to fray that much. And it's not going to be in there that long. Okay, let's get the smaller dry brush. Let's go for the large dry brush. So this one will get some of the deeper recesses that I can't quite reach with the XL dry brush. So let's give it a shot. Also fits in the pot a little bit better, which is good. The XL dry brush tends to catch the sides. Not that it's not a good brush, it's a fantastic brush, it's just the Warhammer pots are a little bit too small. Okay, let's see how we get on with this one. Oh, that's nice. This might have been the brush I should have used to begin with. Hey, well, better late than never. Yeah, this is this is much better actually. See, I just assumed that the biggest brush would just get the most coverage, but the thing is, because this is kind of like a mixture of PVA and stones and sand and everything, it's got a very uneven texture. Obviously it's even enough that miniatures can stand on it, but when it comes to running a brush over it, you don't tend to catch all of the edges. So this brush is doing a way better job. Okay, that's great. That is even better. Big Brain, Terra is probably the second worst place in the galaxy, only behind the Eye of Terror. Yeah, it's not a great place. They have to get all their food sent to them. They have to get everything sent to them, because you can't grow anything on Terra. And what you don't want is to be a planet reliant on other planets. Probably doesn't matter too much for Terra because it is the heart of the Imperium. So, you know, I don't think they're ever going to be in too much trouble. But if you're any other lesser planet of lesser importance, you wouldn't want to be relying on anyone else for your food. Yep. Apologies if you can hear my dog going nuts. He's outside having a little bark. Rover Mars Rover, the Ghoul Stars sounds abysmal, to be fair. I don't know that much about the Ghoul Stars. They sound really cool though. I know I've seen them in the books, but don't know too much of the lore behind them. Dog's going crazy. Okay. Andrew, where does that terrain come from? The terrain, the bridge, I'm pretty sure the bridge and the chapel, Andrew, are from the same company. And the designer is, let me get this right, I did save this earlier. I think it was something Mundus. Let me get that. One sec, bear with me. I did reply to someone earlier with the name of this, but I've already forgotten it. So let me see. Boom. With me. Why is it I can never find it when I'm looking for it? Responded. Let's see. Oh, I know why. I'm looking in the wrong place. It was Instagram. So I will have it right now. Ah, there we go. Sarcus Mundus, Andrew. That's where it's from. That's the designer, Sarcus Mundus. You can also get them on eBay as a physical print from because it's licensed out to 3D printers. So you can always get it on there if you want the physical version. If you don't have access to a 3D printer, hopefully that helps. Sorry it took so long to find that. Gloom Creature, I would want to be a priest on a shrine world. Spend my days wafting incense over shrines and lighting candles. That would be the life. That would be the life, Gloom Creature. I would do that too. If I had to choose one thing, it would be something like that. Because everything else is probably going to be hell in the 40k universe. Nothing is going to be great. I think sometimes people fail to realise just how miserable it would be to live in the 41st millennium. Like, it's not going to be nice. It's going to be absolutely horrible. Give my brush a bit more of a wash there. Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in the 41st millennium. Absolutely not. Big Brain, double check chat settings. I thought I put it on. Oh, no, I didn't. I did earlier, but it's gone back. Oh, okay, alright. Thank you for that, Big Brain. I don't know why that went back. Cheers, it's really neat. Been trying to put together a board myself, just in the dreaming phase for now. Ah, well, hopefully that comes to fruition for you, Andrew. And I'm glad I can help, even though it took me a little while to find that. It's funny, when I'm on a stream and I'm asked to find something, it's never on hand, and I always have to kind of bumble my way through to find what I'm looking for. So we got there eventually. Yeah, Rover Mars Rover and flagellating yourself. Yeah, I don't fancy going through that. To be fair, Rover, I don't think that appeals to me much. Might appeal to some of you out there. Raise an eyebrow. Blood for the Blood God. I'd be happy on a demon world. Yeah, that sounds right with a name like that. But are you going to be like top of the food chain demon, or are you going to be like cultist? Disposable cultist. I feel like that's what most people end up as. It's just fodder. You end up as absolute fodder. Gloom Creature. It would be a decent enough life until someone decides you would be more efficient as a servitor. Yeah, or you make a mistake, and then all of a sudden your main function is to make sure a door opens and closes. You know? That's not going to be so fun. You'll end up with voice lines like that medical servitor from Dark Throne from Dark Tide. Shows you what I listen to in my spare time. Dark Throne. No, yeah, you'd end up like that unfortunate medical servitor from Dark Tide. He says some horrible stuff. He's like, I can't dream, I know only waking nightmare. That sounds fun. That sounds like something you want. Big Brain. If I was in the 41st millennium, I'd hope to be a rogue trader. Oh, but that's effort. That is absolute effort, Big Brain. And you just have to be lucky enough to be born into a sort of rogue trader dynasty, wouldn't you? Because you can't just become one. If you're born in the dregs of society, you stay there. You just have to have luck on your side. The chat settings change when you leave the... Oh, thank you, Big Brain. That makes it... that makes sense. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Luke Thompson, he will be a plaything of Slanesh. Yeah, that would be really unfortunate. Imagine that. You get caught by Emperor's children or something like that. You would just... Well, I don't even know. I wouldn't even want to speculate at what goes on. But I imagine it would be horrible and you'd want out pretty quickly. Viet Cong's Groove. I have started a Wargames table for my son. I'm planning for it to be mostly ruined city with a factory to the side of it. I'm very early in the building, but it's getting there slowly. Also, Dark Throne are awesome. Thank you very much, Viet Cong. That sounds awesome. You just gotta have fun with it. You know, one of the things I found very useful, you might already be aware of it, but Dirty Down Rust is absolutely fantastic, especially if you're doing lots of ruined buildings and you've got your hands on, well, 3D prints or the Warhammer kits, like the Manufactorum stuff. All you've got to do, basically, is just give the miniatures a coat of brown, and then you apply your Dirty Down Rust. And the effect it gives is just fantastic, and it's minimal effort. So if you're looking to sort of churn one out fairly quickly, especially if it's for a younger person, because we all know what the, you know, sort of not attention spans like, but you know, the patience level. I remember as a kid being really impatient with like painting miniatures. I'd always just want it done. I'd be like, bah, 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 bah. But yeah, it's a really, really useful tool to have in your arsenal as well. So it might be worth checking out if you're not aware of it. Big Brain, in theory, you can become a rogue trader as a regular person, but it's implausibly unlikely. You're feeling lucky, are you, Big Brain? I'm guessing. You're feeling very lucky if you reckon you can build yourself up. I feel like it'd be incredibly difficult to get anywhere or into, you know, like even if you're in a position in 40k where you've got some authority, life's still gonna suck, you know? Unless you're like a, what do you call it, planetary governor, and you've got a load of security forces around you, you're probably in trouble. Even that's gonna suck because everyone wants to kill you. So it's not an easy life. I use Dirty Down Rust on my Death Guard. It's really cool. You're ahead of me then, Vietcong. You already know about it. It's brilliant stuff. I always wax lyrical about Dirty Down Rust, just because it really does give the best rust effect. Obviously, depending on what you're doing, because it is likely to reactivate. So, you know, if it's getting handled a lot, maybe not the best thing to have, but if it's just kind of scenery on a table that's not being touched too much, it does the trick and it looks the part. Okay. We are getting there. Still slower than I would have expected, but hey, it's going to be what it's going to be. I thought this process might be a little bit faster, but it hasn't particularly turned out that way. Then again, I would rather get it right than make too much of a mess of it. Vietcong, I use, oh sorry, I read that one. I used it on my Leviathan Dread and it looks properly minging. It does. It does look like haggard, nasty rust, but I think that's why I like it so much. You can also give it a bit of a dry brush as well when you are using it for scenery purposes. If you want the rust to have like a little bit of the metal looking like it kind of pushes through, you can always give it a dry brush with like bolt gun. Oh, not bolt gun. It's not bolt gun. Lead belcher. It's lead belcher now. You can always give it a coat of that. Looks pretty cool. Okay, I'm wondering whether I should spin this around a little bit more. I'll move that. Try not to paint over my phone this time. I think the reason it was probably taking me so long to begin with is I was using the wrong size brush. That large brush just misses too much of the detail. So switching to this smaller one has worked out much better. I'm eager to see what this is going to look like once we mix some powders into it as well. I feel like it's going to look pretty damn good. Once we've dry brushed this sort of ground level, what I'm going to do is start, well, I'll crack out the airbrush again basically, and then I'm going to run some lighter greys through it and pick out the bridge and the ruined chapel. And then again, we're probably going to use a fair bit of sort of weathering on them, just to make them look adequately gross. Big Brain, being a regular Asyriani, I can never say that, it's not a bad life unless you lose your spirit stone. Exactly. And if you're, you know, if you're someone who loses things a lot, like I tend to do, that would not make for a great life. I would lose mine straight away. They'd be like, here's your spirit stone. And I'd be like, oh, where'd I put it? I swear it was with my keys. No, I stand by it. There's not going to be anything nice about living in Warhammer 40k. Not at all. Oh. Lost me chat again. Let's just make sure. There we go. Make sure the filter's on. Cool. I feel like you guys are going to like this when I put some pictures on the Discord, because it does look much better than just like as it did before with the basic coats. It's given it a lot more tone. That fell down the back of the couch. Exactly, Viet Cong. That is exactly what would happen. I am really bad. In real life, I am really bad at losing things. I've started becoming a little bit better just because I keep everything, like my car keys and my glasses, in a bowl by my microwave. So I have a tendency to not lose things as much now. But yeah, it was bad. A while ago it was pretty damn bad. Sorry, let me just change my battery settings. Let's get rid of... Right, cool. Being a space wizard would be cool. Oh, well, till you end up meeting the Black Templars and they're like, oh, a space wizard. Time to die. Well, to be fair, anyone when they meet the Black Templars is in trouble, so I don't think you're going to fare any better if you're not a space wizard. Viet Cong, or drop the spirit stone down the clergy and it was flushed away. I haven't had that yet, but you know, I could imagine that being the first time it happens with my spirit stone. Do you lose your glasses? Sometimes I do, Big Brain. Sometimes I do. I have a pair of sunglasses which are prescription. So when I take off my normal glasses and put them down and put on my sunglasses, sometimes I forget where I have put my normal glasses, which is a pain in the ass because usually I'm looking for them when I'm in a rush. So I want them yesterday and I can't remember where I put them. It's bad enough here with like paints and stuff because I'm so, well, giving it away a bit here, but because I'm kind of unorganized with my studio space, it just so happens that I can never find anything I'm looking for when I need it. And then when the moment has passed, I find it. I had a similar situation earlier when I was looking for a dropper pot that I was trying to fill up, and I couldn't find the little metal ball bearings that go in it or the topper for it. And then, about an hour later, when I didn't need them anymore, that's when I found it. So, useful stuff. I don't have an organized brain. We are definitely getting through this whole pot of Morghast bone. In fact, this last bit of the pot might not do the whole table. So I'm probably going to need to take another trip to buy a bit more paint. Viet Cong, I don't often lose anything. When I do, it's a massive panic. I hate losing things, it's so stressful. And it's always when you're in a hurry. It is, Viet Cong, it's always when you're in a hurry. It's never any other time when you're just chilling out. It's always like, oh, I've got to go out the door, I've got to be somewhere, and then you can't find what you need. It really infuriates me. But I got no one to blame but myself, you know. If it doesn't go back in the bowl, like when I'm done for the day, if I don't put the stuff in the bowl and then I can't find it, it's no one's fault but my own. So I've got to take responsibility. Okay. I'm really happy with this green, actually. One of the things that I'm glad I did. So when I was looking at the board earlier, and I was like, okay, I want to get some green in here because I want it to look like the Warhammer community art that I've seen. It was a bit of a risk sticking it on Xandri Dust. Just because I wasn't guaranteed how it was going to come out. Went for it anyway, felt like it looked pretty good off the bat, and now that we're sort of tying it all in with the dry brush, it does look really good. It's just a nice subtle effect, and it kind of gives off like a radioactive, kind of ugly, contaminated soil sort of feeling. So I'm very happy with it. Everything's coming up Millhouse. Yeah, we are actually at the end of this pot now. There's probably only a couple more scoops of Morghast bone, and that's going to be it. What do we have here? Big Brain, I think you would rather fight the Black Templars as a space wizard over a regular human. Yeah, I think so too, Big Brain. Personally, I'd rather not be in a position where I have to fight them at all. I would just give them a wide berth and leave them well alone. But if I couldn't avoid it, yes, I'd rather have the superhuman powers than not. But I feel like they're going to try and kill you extra hard. You know, if they sense your powers, they're going to be like, alright, there he is, let's get him. And then before you know it, you're on your way out in a very, very painful way. Probably on top of a pyre. Viet Cong, my girlfriend always loses her phone, but you can't phone it, as she always has it on silent. Oh no, that is the worst. And the thing is, I've definitely done that myself. I've 100% done that. But yeah, how bad is that? Pardon me, slapping my lips there. Yeah, the one method that you could probably find it is turned off. That is something. I think being an ambot would be cool. Oh, yeah, well. I don't know. I don't know. Bumbling about turning gangers into mush. Yeah. Okay, that would be fun, yeah. Just stray corridor ganger, boom, right into the buzzsaw. Yeah, maybe that would be kind of fun, actually. I reckon if you're kind of just a mindless ambot, that might not be too bad. You've got to get your kicks somehow. Big Brain, you can hide psychic powers from non-psychers. Yeah, but all it takes is one mistake, Big Brain. One mistake and that's it. And they're on to you. And, you know, out of all the Space Marine chapters, the ones that you probably don't want, well, you don't want any of them to be after you, but like the ones you'd want the least are probably Black Templars. The ones known for their zeal and fanaticism. No thank you. I mean, let's put it out there. Is there any chapter that's worse in terms of like aggression than the Black Templars? Is there any that, well, yeah, I mean, there is like chaos. You've got the Night Lords. You don't want to run into a Night Lord either. Okay, well, let's say like loyalist factions. Is there any that are worse than Black Templars? Are there any that are as crazy? Using a Space Marine as a baseball bat to hit another Space Marine. Okay. Don't forget, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, it's always very helpful if you stick a like on it, just so YouTube knows that I'm doing something okay and it's not a complete waste of your time. So if you could do that, I would very, very much appreciate it. It just helps YouTube push it out a little bit more. Vietcong Carcadon. Oh yeah, Carcadons. Carcadons you wouldn't want to mess with. Especially Tiberos. He would make short work of you. He really would. Isn't he like much bigger than normal Space Marines as well? He's already like incredibly huge. Battle Sisters? Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Night Lords just need a hug. Oh. Next thing you know, you're an extra skin suit on their armor. Frag-Eye, hello all. Hello, Frag-Eye. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. We are going for it today, Frag-Eye. We've been working on the project, not on stream obviously, but I've been working on the project for about 5 hours today. Just trying to get everything painted up and looking the part, so we can come in with this this dry brushing that we're doing now to make it all pop a little bit more. The unfortunate thing is we are running out of Morghast bone, which I need. It's the main dry brush coat that I'm using at the moment, so it's kind of making things a little bit more difficult. But we're getting there. Slower than I initially intended, but we are getting there. And it's just nice knocking some of these colours back a little bit with the dry brush. Frag-Eye, I'm still waiting for my Juve number 2 to be born. Oh, you got one in the pipeline, Frag-Eye. Well, of course you do. You are on about IRL here, Frag-Eye, aren't you? Just to be 100% clear. Just to clarify that for me. I think realistically we're probably only going to end up getting half of this dry brush this evening, just because I really think we are going to run out of this paint. But it matters not. Okay. I also want to dry brush some of the edges of the craters with like a bit of Chaos Black as well, just to kind of give those scorch marks. Ah, I see, Frag-Eye. Are you in the hospital? I feel like you got more pressure at the moment. Sometimes I feel like live streams are not pressure, but obviously you're talking to people online and everything, and you're kind of I want to say like a dancing monkey, but that is not pressure compared to the waiting for another ganger to be born. But I hope it all goes very smoothly for you, Frag-Eye. You'll be putting on these streams in the near future to get a little bit of respite, I reckon. You put the baby to sleep, you'll have heard crying all day, and then you'll come and listen to me cry about how these projects aren't working. I had kind of argued with myself earlier about how I wanted these ash wastes to kind of specifically look. And I didn't know, once I put the base colours down, I didn't know whether I wanted to kind of make it look a little bit more yellow. Now, I'm kind of glad that I didn't go with a yellow, but I kind of had this notion that the green and the sepia wasn't going to be enough. So initially, I kind of planned to go over it with XV88, I think is the colour. Very, very glad I didn't, because I feel like this is kind of spot on in terms of the combination. But just part of me in that moment thought that maybe yellow would make it look a little bit more visually sort of interesting. So I think we dodged the bullet. No, not in the hospital yet, but it's due. So we wait now. Well, you know, I'm sending my best, Frag Guy. I hope it all goes smoothly, and you have 2. And then you get 3, 4, 5, and there's a whole big family of Frag Guys. I think it's just, it's part of life though, Big Brain, for a lot of people, isn't it? The waiting around. But the good thing is, if you think, being born now is like the best possible time you could be born in terms of like medical stuff that we have, and advancements in sort of medication and doctors and all that kind of stuff. You think 100 years ago, not so great. But now, best time to be born. Viet Cong, the ground looks properly baked and arid. Thank you, Viet Cong. That's exactly what I want. I don't know if I spin it around slightly here, without making any catastrophic errors. I don't know if you guys can just about see this area here where we're looking a lot more light. Again, I apologise because I know the camera is not very good. That will change very soon. But yeah, so I'm glad it's kind of looking arid, baked, also like kind of irradiated I'm going for as well. Just because the ash waste is like true horror, you know. The soil and the earth is just destroyed beyond any sort of... well, there's no fixing it, is there? You know, Necromunda is just ruined. Life would not come back to it. Frango, not for me, Big Brain. My wife has to suffer the heat. Yeah. You think Fragai has it a little bit easier, doesn't he? Fragai hasn't got the main job to do. Big Brain, what's the temperature? 27 degrees. Oh, Fragai. I think it's hotter there than it is here. It's been quite warm here today, but not as unforgiving as it has been in the last few weeks. Which has obviously been great for this project, because it means I've been able to get some paint onto it and get it moving forward. That being said, I did do it all in the morning. Well, I done most of it in the morning. Like, I got my base coats on and my shades and stuff. Just because I didn't want to chance it, sort of saving it till later, and then the heat from the day just ruining the spray, basically. Viet Cong, I was about to say I could imagine it being radioactive. Yeah, I just imagine it's kind of like radioactive wasteland at this point. So the inspiration from the green was from some of the official art for the ash wastes. Unfortunately, I cannot credit the artist because I don't know the name of the artist, since Games Workshop don't credit the artists, unfortunately. But if you look at some of the official art for Necromunda and the Ash Wastes, you'll see there's a couple of pieces where you can see the wasteland and there's loads of scrap and rubbish and all sorts of shit in it, basically, for want of a better word. And everything's got this kind of greenish hue to it. So I figured we would take a leaf out of that book and add some green hues to this build. And it's really working. I think we will come in and add a bit more dirt and detritus and all sorts of rubbish that you'd find, but we can blend that in after. Big Brain, radioactive waste is not green. I know, Big Brain. I know radioactive waste is not green, but we are just kind of playing on, I guess, a stereotype of how radioactive stuff is depicted as kind of greenish. But I know it's not the real deal. It's not how it really works. Viacom, I wonder if you could add corium deposits here and there. Corium deposits? You might want to jog my memory with that one, Vietcong, because I'm not sure I'm aware of what that is. So feel free to enlighten me. As I say, when it comes to Necromunda, I'd like to say I know a fair bit about Necromunda, but not all encompassing. So there's probably a fair bit I am unaware of when it comes to the lore. Frag-Eye, Nihilus, I watched your short vid. The spray can colour was drying in the air as you sprayed it. I know, Frag-Eye. I know. I was incredibly lucky, though, that it's all come out quite nicely. You can see me like, oh, checking it. Yeah, it's come out quite nicely. And again, since it's just the base coat for things, when I come back in with the airbrush, it sorts it out anyway. So yeah, I did notice that. It was all dusty, and I had my mask on. But I felt like if I didn't do it today, and if I don't start make... Oh no, I put this on the wrong... I was supposed to put that on the wet palette. You know, if I don't get stuck in, I'm just going to be waiting and waiting and waiting, because I think the heat is going to be around with us for quite a while here in the UK. So I just needed to take the chance, basically, for our guy. Big Brain, corium is the result of melted nuclear reactors. Oh, I'm learning something new there. I'm going to go and have a look at that. I'll tell you what I will do, Big Brain, is I'm going to screenshot that. Save it. I will have a look later, because I like, you know, I like stuff to help me enhance what I'm building. And if I can get some good images and maybe recreate something, I will. I'll certainly try it. Corium is basically a nuclear reactor full. Fool. I think I'm the fool. Fuel, sand concrete reactors melted into black glassy rock. It's what the elephant's foot in the basement of Chernobyl is made of. I didn't know that. I've heard of the elephant's foot, obviously, and Chernobyl and everything, but I didn't know about corium. I didn't, so I'm going to have a little look at that, because that does sound very interesting. Terrifying, absolutely terrifying, but interesting. You know, and anything I can sort of use to enhance this build, I will look at. When I've got my downtime, or screen time, and I'm just chilling out, I like to look at sort of inspirations for the build. I'm kind of mostly always thinking of Warhammer and things I can build, probably to a bit of a worrying amount sometimes. But yeah, when I got some screen time, I end up looking at just kind of what other people have done, and also like influences in real life, basically. So yeah, I will check that out. Okay. I think I'm gonna save the portion in the middle, because it's looking evident that this whole thing is not going to be finished by the end of this stream. So I think I'm just going to continue to work my way down to this side, and then at least we've got a sort of good basis to continue on from. I think what I'm going to try and do is get up quite early tomorrow and make another little dent on this. Because I'm really happy with today's progress. Viet Cong, I think you get a fatal dose of radiation within a few minutes. That sounds like a sucky job. I remember watching the Chernobyl, the dramatization, the series that they done for it, and seeing the guys just going in with their suits and they could only be there for a few minutes, and then essentially they got a fatal dose of radiation, and then they got to leave, you know? When they going in one by one to remove chunks of debris, sounds awful, absolutely awful. There's a really good book called Atoms and Ashes by Serhii God, I'm going to butcher that name, Viacom. Serhii Plokhy. It's really interesting. It covers all of the nuclear accidents. That sounds kind of grim as well, though, Viacom. That sounds grim. I think at this point in the 41st millennium, there has been plenty of awful radiation accidents. And there's probably still lots of horrible stuff that goes on in the ash wastes. We probably don't know the half of it. It has the same radiation count as the roof. Yeah, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Didn't it blow the, like all the matter up onto the roof? I think. Again, I'm not an expert on it, but I'm just going by what I remember seeing on the documentary, not the documentary, the dramatization, the series. Oh, that is good. I'm patting myself on the back there. I'm like, oh, that's really good. I'm just always kind of like, it makes me a lot more enthusiastic when, this is going to sound a little bit daft because it kind of makes, you know, it's a similar thing for anyone doing any sort of hobby, but when it's going well, you know, it feels like I'm more sort of engaged and enthusiastic about the project. And it just so happens that things are going pretty well. Touch wood. Yeah, it was graphite and nuclear fuel that covered the roof. Yeah, it's really grim. That's really grim, Vietcong. We are lucky that, well, it makes you feel sorry for the people who had to live through that and the people that were drafted in just to clear that stuff off the roof and given a death sentence, basically. It's horrendous. Fraggy, best radioactive story is the radioactive Boy Scout. Oh, is that the one who, is that the boy who built like a reactor in his shed or something like that? I feel like that rings a bell. I don't know whether that's exactly it, but I feel like that rings a bit of a bell. I don't want to mess around with any nuclear materials. I don't mind painting it and depicting it on tabletop, but I don't want to be near any hazardous stuff. No, thank you. It's bad enough when you're on older houses, when you're working on older houses, you've got to be careful what they have in their on their property, like asbestos and stuff like that. You've got to avoid all that. Because I know it's not exactly radiation, but that stuff is really bad for you. Oh, that is the story. I got it right. It's funny, there's me sat here saying like, oh, I don't know much about radiation stuff, but obviously Chernobyl, yeah. But then the second story that Fraggy mentions just so happens to be something I'm aware of. But I guarantee you, I'm not a big like nuclear guy and radioactive. I don't know much about it. He's building his own reactor in his shed like you building the throne room. I feel like mine is safer. I feel like me building this is definitely safer than building a reactor. It was probably cheaper for him to build that reactor as well than it is to build what I'm building. Maybe that's what I should be doing, Braga. I love... Big Brain says, I love uranium-235. I'm guessing that's not a good thing to love, Big Brain. It's probably not something you should love. Francois Maron, hello. Welcome to the stream. I probably butchered your name. I'm very, very sorry, but welcome to the stream. We are just painting some scenery at the moment. We've been painting scenery for the past 2 hours, I think. Just doing a bit of dry brushing on this project for Hobby House to try and pull things together. And it is getting there. A little bit more intensive than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit easier to just kind of pass over this with a dry brush, but you live and learn. You live and learn. I say that, but I never seem to learn, you know? I did say on my short earlier today that I always underestimate how much paint to use on a project and how much, like, you know, especially when it comes to like spray cans, how much I'm going to get through with a project. And I've done that again on this one. And you would have thought the amount of spray cans I've used on the Golden Throne, I would start to learn by now. But hey. Nuclear, it's called Nuclear. Viet Cong, interesting story. When the Russians invaded Ukraine, they occupied Chernobyl exclusion zone and dug trenches, defences in the Red Forest and lived there for months. That sounds like a really shit idea. That sounds like a really, really bad idea. Frag, well, some of those idiots died for their incompetence. Oh, crazy stuff. It's funny how we got onto nuclear now. I put in this this green, which, according to Big Brain, you know, radioactive stuff isn't green. But it's funny how we've gone down this rabbit hole of, like, nuclear accidents now. Even if it's not, like, green is not nuclear, you imagine there's gotta be sort of chemicals on Necromunda that are awful and green and give off, like, I don't know, stain the earth, basically. Well, let's rephrase it. They died for their commander's incompetence. Oh, God. I'd say this is the heaviest conversation we've had on stream so far. Talking about nuclear disasters and stuff. I love nuclear science. Big Brain's a bit of a scientist. You're a bit more of an academic though, aren't you, Big Brain? I thought you were more academically inclined. Me, not so much. I just like creating things and painting. I do, that's my favourite. I did find science interesting at school, actually. But, not enough to put the effort in. I know that sounds really bad, but yeah. I was always interested in painting and drawing. My favourite subject was always art. I've always enjoyed creating stuff at whatever capacity. Maths was always a hard pass, you know. Anything maths related was a no. So, I think that's probably why I didn't get on too well with science, like physics and stuff. I don't need it now, anyway. It's your special interest, Viacom. That's fair enough. We've all got special interests. We have. Mine is just Warhammer, I guess. I think Warhammer is probably my main interest. I still have a soft spot for, like, art galleries and drawing and painting, but for me there wasn't much of a future in it, and it just so happens now that I can spend more time doing this, you know, like painting and creating models, which is up there, you know. It's just as good for me. I'd love to be able to spend all my time just doing this, making scenery and talking about it. We're also going to use a little bit of liquid pigment. So I've been using some on, well, I used a little bit on my Crash Aquila lander, which I am going to put in this board somewhere, probably on the middle section. I've used some liquid pigment, like some really ashy grey pigment stuff. And I'm going to use it around the craters as well. It gives a really nice effect, because if you dilute it a little bit with some mineral spirits, it kind of just, it sucks into all the gaps. And once it dries, it just looks like natural deposits of ash. It's really good stuff. 10 out of 10 recommend. My favourite artist is H.R. Geiger. H.R. Geiger. That is a good choice, Vietcong. He's on my list for sure. I'm not sure he's my favourite artist. I feel like the artist that always kind of intrigued me is quite it's quite a popular one, but I always used to be a fan of Salvador Dali. I always found his work to be very interesting. And as I've got older, I've kind of started to appreciate kind of Renaissance art, I guess it would be. So in the London gallery, they've got a lot of Renaissance art, which I like looking at. Not too familiar with the artists and who create them, but I just kind of like wandering around and looking at them. I don't think any of my terrain is ever going to feature in the London Art Gallery though. But the next best thing is it will be in a hobby house. And it'll be played on. People will get some enjoyment out of it. So, it's the next best thing. For those of you who don't know as well, I'm sure most of you probably know this by now, but once this is done and we're heading down to Hobby House, there's actually going to be an event. So I'm going to be down there talking about this project and talking about what we've built. Yeah, you'll be able to come along and listen to me ramble, if you so choose, and just talk about Warhammer. And for those of you who can make it, it'd be nice to see you in person. It'd be nice to see some faces that I interact with online, if you are about. But there will be more details about that nearer the time, and I'll make sure you're all kept in the loop. So I reckon I'm going to do one more little bit down here, and then I think I'm probably going to call it a night for tonight. But it's been a very nice stream. It's always nice to hang out with you guys as I'm working, because it just gives me, gives me some people to talk to. Because, I don't talk to anyone else about Warhammer. Just you guys. I've got one friend who vaguely likes Warhammer, but when it comes to talking about it, it's with you guys on stream. Vietcong, I've always found carvings of on the Pictish stones are really cool, because we don't really know the symbols, what they mean. There are so many theories as to what they mean. That is an interesting one. As far as like art and creation, we don't, do we? So I've been to, why do I always forget? Avesbury. I've been to Avesbury, and I've seen a lot of the kind of designs that they kind of, how do I word this? I've basically seen a lot of those designs, and I do find it interesting that no one knows what they mean. They don't know whether it was just to look cool, or whether it's got deeper meaning. God, I don't know why it was so difficult to get that out. Big Brain, my instance of the stream broke. Well, are you reconnected, Big Brain? Are you back with us? Vietcong, a lot of manuscripts were destroyed during the Reformation because they were written by monks. Yeah, well, you think about all the history that we've lost over time. We've lost a lot of history. It makes me ask a lot of questions about, what's it, like the Library of Alexandria? just imagining what potential knowledge we might have had if it didn't burn down, or was burnt down. It's just an interesting thought, really. I do like my history. I feel like I could get more into my history and learn more about it, you know? Because I feel like there's always lots of questions to be asked. The only real references we have are Roman and from the Book of Kells. Yeah, it's nuts. We might never know, you know? There might be something that we just never find out about. I'm sure there is lots of mysteries that we will never know the answer to. Or the libraries of Baghdad when the city was destroyed by the Mongols. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think what history has been lost over the thousands of years. It makes me wonder where we'd be as a society if we hadn't lost that information. Okay. So, as I said, for those of you who might not have caught it, I'm going to take a few pictures. They might not be the best because of the lighting at the moment, but I'm going to take some pictures of how this is looking now that a patch of it has been dry brushed, and let you guys see what you think, basically. Also, there might not be a live stream on Friday, unfortunately, because I'm going away. I say might not because we'll see what happens. But it's looking likely like there won't be a live stream on Friday. So hopefully we'll be back on again on Sunday for those of you who like to tune into these. And if you're new, feel free to subscribe. There's a bunch of links in the description of this live stream with links to the Discord. There's also ways that you can support the channel on there as well. We've got Patreon. There's also channel membership if you are enjoying the streams and want to become part of the channel. It helps me to be able to do more of them, to be fair, and to do them more often. So if you do enjoy it, consider becoming a member. Rover Mars Rover, later skaters. See you later, Rover. I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining the stream this evening. It's always good to have my regulars around. Viet Cong, the Islamic Enlightenment basically ended when the Abbasid Caliphate was destroyed. It sounds like, Viet Cong, you know your stuff. You sound like a well-informed person. You sound much more informed than me. I'm just here sat on my stream, la 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 la, painting my models, like oblivious to the world. But then, to be fair, this is kind of an escape, isn't it? Let's be fair, like hobbying is a bit of an escape from all those questions. What have we got? 666 Zazie. The Library of Alexandria was even more than a library. It was also an exhibit for inventions, all lost sadly. Some scientists think that losing it might have thrown our society back 500 years. See, this is exactly the kind of stuff I'm on about. It's just crazy to think that. Because if we look back, say, 100 years, 200 years, you look at how much our society has changed and how many inventions. You know, you think we didn't have the internet and smartphones and stuff 100 years ago. So how much has changed in that, short amount of time? It's hard to even comprehend what we would be like 500 years from now. So it really is kind of mind-blowing to think, really. It's a huge shame. Well, it's more than a huge shame. It's like, it's unquantifiable, really. Big Brain, I can't make dioramas like you. I'm sure you could, Big Brain. I'm just, I don't know, I'm just a little bit too ambitious, I think, at times, Big Brain. But I reckon you could. If you can paint checkers on harlequins, you could build a diorama, I tell you that much. Because I can't even imagine painting checkers on a harlequin. And I wouldn't want to. I feel like I would just lose my temper because I wouldn't be able to do it correctly. So if you can do that, you can build one of these. Viet Cong, same in Europe. When the Western Roman Empire collapsed, progress basically stopped for a long time. I'm learning a fair bit about history this evening. I've got like a rudimentary knowledge of certain things, but I'm being enlightened. Fragite, well, the internet throws us back, throws us back another 500 years. I think some of the content on the internet certainly does that, Big Brain. I can't say this is groundbreaking stuff right here, this stream. You know? But, hey. I keep putting the paint on my texture palette instead of the wet palette, which is a bit daft. It's getting to be that time of night. Big Brain, you can learn history. I know. Like I say, Big Brain, it's one of the things that I could become interested in. I feel like I do have an interest in history, but not like a specific niche. So it's funny because it also translates to how I feel about like Warhammer. Is I tend to just like pick and choose things that I like from Warhammer in terms of lore. So Necromunda being a prime example is I don't know all of the lore about Necromunda, and I probably don't know a lot about it, but I've sort of like cherry picked the bits of information that I find quite interesting. So I couldn't tell you like anything about the current story because I haven't read any of the supplement books or anything, but I could tell you basic things about the planet and basic things about the gangs and stuff, you know. I could tell you that the Van Saar have an STC, or a barely functioning STC, which makes them all chronically ill, and they have to use the technology for their suits to keep themselves alive. So yeah, I can tell you stuff like that. Odd little points I find interesting. Viet Cong, it's nice to be able to chat and not have mofos trying to argue with you. But to be fair, Viet Cong, the community that this channel has sort of garnered, everyone is fantastic. Like, all the guys on this stream are really cool to hang out with, and there's never been like any problems. So touch wood again, I've done that like 3 times a stream. But yeah, this community is fantastic, and I love having you guys tune in and chatting to you guys because it's always a pleasure. It's never a chore. I'm never turning on the live stream like, oh, I got to dodge that one person, or like, oh, I had to block someone. It's always been really nice and really enjoyable. So I really appreciate that, guys. We're here just to chill out anyway. Just chill out, talk hobby, talk about some other stuff as well. We tend not to like dive into anything too, political and stuff like that. Because everyone's here just to kind of chill, do some hobbying, talk about Warhammer. We leave the real life outside for a while, you know. Big Brain, where is that big annoying star called Sol when you need light? Yeah. I tell you, it is easier, Big Brain, to work in daylight. The setup I've got here isn't too bad at all. Like, I've got lamps and I've got the lights overhead and everything. But daylight is just, you know, is perfection, obviously. Viet Cong, it seems really chill. I like it. I'm glad to hear that, Viet Cong. If you're not subscribed, please consider doing so, because we do these like mostly 3 times a week. So it tends to be Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays. Obviously, this Friday is up in the air at the moment, but Sunday we'll be back on, getting on with it. So yeah, you know, if you're not already, that is. And you know, if you really, really like it, consider changing your name to a green one by becoming a member. Well, Big Brain, that star is on the other side of the big round ball called Terra. It is. It is, Fragai. Fragai in with some science there. Some astronomy. Viet Cong, subscribe. Thank you very much for subscribing, Viet Cong. Hopefully we will see you again on one of these streams very soon. It's been nice to have you here for the stream. If you want to share what you're working on as well, we got a Discord too, so feel free to check that out should you so wish. Alright, what are we looking at? Nearly half past. So, I think, guys, we are going to round it off here, just because I've got to wash up my brushes and everything. But it's been a very productive stream. Granted, we didn't get as much done as I thought we were going to get done. I thought we would get like the whole thing coated in at least one dry brush, but didn't happen. The good news is we've made progress, and I think that's all that matters for the time being. So, alright, thank you very much, guys, for another awesome stream. I won't regurgitate all the stuff I've just said, because obviously you know how you can support the channel if you want to. Obviously, if you just want to tune into the live streams, either way, you're more than welcome. Yeah, so that being said, I will see you guys soon. Let me just read this last message here. I'm finished making Lamellar armor for LARP and Lamellar armor for LARP, and now it's minis I'm doing. Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening doing that, Viet Cong. I appreciate you swinging by and checking out the stream. Thank you to everyone else who has been watching over the past 2.5 hours. I will see you all on Sunday guaranteed, and I will keep you updated on Friday stream. So thank you very much again, guys, and I will see you all very soon. Bye-bye.